Hello, this is Niky Tamayo and welcome to Top Gear Philippines for another walk around video. And for this video, we're going to do a lot of walking because this is the biggest, most powerful, most luxurious, and most feature-packed Mazda we have ever seen. Say hello to the CX-90. When Mazda launched the CX-60 a few months ago, we knew they had big plans for the large product platform underneath it, but we didn't know how big until now because the CX-90 is really big. At over 5 meters long and just under 2 meters wide, it is 100 millimeters wider and nearly 400 millimeters longer than the CX-60. In fact, it's actually bigger than a BMW X5. Now that extra size gives it extra gravitas, extra presence on the road versus a smaller, sportier CX-60. In terms of styling, it's mostly similar. The front end is nearly the same, but this extra real estate gives designers more space to play with light and shadow. You know, Mazda's perennial party trick, the way that light curves and goes across its bodywork, is just beautiful, especially in this artisan red color. This artisan red is a more mature take on Soul Red. It mixes Soul Red with some machine gray and some rhodium white, gives it deeper lows and higher highs. It gives it more soul. Rounding off this package are 21-inch wheels, a first for Mazda. On the 8-seater variant, these come in a silver gray finish. On the 6-seat exclusive variant, these come in a two-tone finish. Further differentiating the 6-seater from the 8-seater are these body-colored fender liners and sills, and a little more chrome than you get on the other car. Another stylistic touch to note is how Mazda has pushed the greenhouse back to give this a more rear-biased, more sporty feel. They have all these lines arcing to meet up at the taillights, and it gives you that size without giving you that feeling of weight. Very neat way of handling that. Now, underneath the hood of the CX-90, you find a big engine cover and not much else. This cover really surrounds the engine and keeps the heat in. See, the CX-90 is a lesson in thermal management. You even have active grille shutters that keep closed when you need to keep heat in the engine and only open when you need to cool the engine down. This is because the engine isn't always on, because this is a true hybrid. Now, underneath, you won't find any alternator or starter. Instead, all of the electrical work is done by a hybrid motor that is attached to the engine by a clutch. So you have the engine, you have the hybrid motor, you have the transmission. You have two clutches, one between the engine and the motor, one between the motor and the transmission. Now that electric motor, it isn't just a glorified starter. Now we've got a lot of controversy about what constitutes a hybrid here in the Philippines because some manufacturers will say, you know, the engine turns off at a stop and we've got a really big starter to turn it on again when you get going, and that's a hybrid. But this hybrid motor can actually move the car. It's got a lot of power, 16 horsepower and about 153 Newton meters of torque. But Mazda chooses not to use it that way. Instead, it provides torque assist to the gasoline motor when you get going or when you're asking for full power. And when coasting at low loads or low speeds, the gasoline engine can turn off, and that 153 Newton meters of torque will keep you idling along until you get to a stop. That starter, alternator, hybrid assist motor, all in one motor, it also generates electricity that feeds your regular 12-volt battery and that feeds your hybrid battery so that when you're stopped, those batteries are topped up and you can keep your air conditioner running without any gasoline at all. So it's not a full hybrid system. You can't run under electric-only power. But by the letter of the law, since that electric power can run the car by itself at some times, it still counts, doesn't it? Well, that's up to the LTO to decide. But for now, we're calling this a hybrid. On the inside, you've got the same beautiful design and beautiful mix of materials that you have in the CX-60. That includes this Legano suede, which, by the way, is not real suede. It's actually vegan suede. Yeah, you had us fooled there for months, Mazda, but now we know better. It also has that driver personalization system that you got on the CX-60. which stores up to 250 parameters, including your preferred seat position and steering wheel position, as well as other parameters to do with climate control and entertainment. It scans your face and it will recognize you as you turn the car on and adjust itself to you. Full personalization, full service. This is perfect. Now, it may be related to the CX-60, but let me say this is so much bigger. There's so much more space, and it's not like they took the CX-60 and just widened the sills. No, they adjusted everything so that it's perfect. And even though this is a bigger car, it will be instantly familiar to anyone who's driven any other Mazda because it has that Mazda attention to ergonomics, that human-centric approach that Mazda has to the driving experience. Now, even though it is concentrated on the driver, this is also a car for families. And family use means a big cabin. Now, I don't want to cross my legs because I might scuff the tan leather, but I'm going to do it anyway to show you that I've got a lot of leg room here. I've also got a lot of elbow room. I've got a lot of headroom. And if I want light, I've got that dual pane sunroof letting a lot of light in. If I want less light, I can just put up the sunshades. And, you know, if it gets too hot outside, these are ventilated seats. I can cool my bum while sitting back here, or if it gets too cold, I can heat it up. This is the 6-seater variant, so you don't have a center seat here. Instead, you have a center console, which gives you a lot of extra storage and a place to put your wine coolers or your champagne. Depends on what the master wants. Now in the third row, you're definitely not business class like the captain up here, but you get multiple cup holders per side. You get aircon vents for your knees. You get some cooling for your legs. And there's actually a lot of elbow room and decent leg room in here, surprisingly. And for headroom, it fits your average top gear rider, but anyone over 5'5" might not want to try the seat at all. Where the CX-9 gave you a choice between the third row seat and cargo space, the CX-90 asks, why not both? Even with the third row up, you get 450 liters of space, and with the third row down, you get over 1,000. But the second row down, you get even more space. And even better, this floor is flat with a loading lip, which means no scraping or scratching when you put loads over that into the trunk. Now, underneath this floor, you also get a plastic organizer for your tools and odds and ends. And underneath that, you get a spare tire with an integrated subwoofer. Yes, a subwoofer. Coolness. Now, we've barely scratched the surface of what the CX-90 has to offer. Aside from the driver personalization system and all the goodies inside, you also get kick-ass sound from that Bose sound system with that hidden subwoofer under the spare tire. You also get wireless Apple CarPlay and connectivity, USB-C charging. You get the latest in Mazda's G-vectoring control, which they call kinematic posture control, which uses dabs of brake and mediates engine output to keep the car stable over wavy parts of the road and bumps, makes it more comfortable over long distances. Over long distances, you'll also appreciate forward collision warning, lane departure warning, and Mazda's advanced cruise control, which keeps you centered in lane and at a set distance from the car in front of you, even if that lane is very slightly curved. Now, we don't know the prices yet, but we do know it'll be north of 3.5 million, maybe topping out near 4, which sounds kind of expensive, and it is. This will be the most expensive Mazda ever sold in the Philippines. But think about it. This gives you the space, luxury, and features befitting a luxury SUV that costs anywhere between 5 to 7 million pesos. This is something that Mazda has been building up to for the past decade or so, ever since they launched Sky Active back in 2012. They turned up the design, they turned up the luxury, they turned up the technology, and they've been climbing steadily since then, up the ladder to the point where they can now say, we're making a near luxury car and it fits in our lineup. And yes, it really does. Now, this does not compete with the CX-9. Instead, it complements it. See, the CX-9 is about the limit of what the front-wheel drive-based Sky Active architecture can achieve. The CX-90 takes the large product platform and goes a step further than the CX-9 can ever go. This is the next rung in the ladder. This is the next rung in your climb to success. And Mazda's climb up into the ranks of luxury manufacturers. How far can they climb though? We'll see, but with the CX-90, we don't doubt that they can go all the way to the top.